You can say La ilaha illallah 1,000 times and still remain ruled by fear, desire, praise, and the dunya. Why? Because the Awliya understood that this dhikr was never meant to remain only on the tongue. It was meant to enter the heart and remove everything competing with Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha breaks the false masters within you. Illallah returns the heart to its true Lord. In this video, you will discover 7 deep transformations that begin when these words stop being simple repetition and start becoming the reality of your life. Stay until the final lesson, because it reveals what happens when this dhikr finally reaches the deepest part of the heart. Before we begin, subscribe to Whispers of the Awliya and write La ilaha illallah in the comments. Do not write it as an ordinary comment, write it as a declaration that nothing deserves the throne of your heart except Allah. Now, let us open the first hidden layer of La ilaha illallah. Lesson 1. La ilaha, break the hidden thrones inside your heart. The first words of this dhikr do not comfort the Nafs, they threaten it. La ilaha, there is no deity worthy of worship. Before La ilaha illallah fills the heart with Allah, it begins by exposing everything else that has quietly taken his place. And this is where the real journey starts. The Awliya understood that a person may never bow before an idol of stone, yet the heart can still bow to fear, praise, money, desire, reputation, control, or the approval of people. You may pray only to Allah, but one person's rejection can destroy your peace. You may believe Allah is Ar-Razaq, yet your entire heart trembles when provision becomes uncertain. You may say Allah alone gives honor, yet criticism from one human being can occupy your mind for days. You may say Allah is enough, yet secretly believe, if I lose this person, this position, this wealth, or this dream, I will have nothing left. This is exactly what La ilaha comes to confront. It asks your heart a question most people avoid. What are you unable to lose without losing yourself? Because whatever has that much control over your peace may have become more than a blessing. It may have become a throne, and the Nafs loves thrones. The Nafs wants to be obeyed whenever it speaks. When it says, become angry, it expects anger. When it says, defend yourself, it expects a response. When it says, they must respect you, it expects your peace to depend upon their behavior. When it says, you need this, it expects you to chase even if Allah has placed a boundary around it. The Nafs does not always openly say, worship me. It simply trains you to obey it without questioning. This is why the Awliya treated La ilaha like a spiritual sword. Every sincere repetition cuts something. One attachment, one fear, one layer of pride, one false dependency. When you say La ilaha, let the meaning enter your life. No, people's approval will not be my God. No, wealth will not be my God. No, fear of tomorrow will not be my God. No, my anger will not be my God. No, my desires will not be my God. No, my reputation will not decide my worth. No, my nafs will not sit upon a throne that belongs only to Allah. This is why sincere dhikr can sometimes feel uncomfortable. Because the moment you begin saying La ilaha with awareness, you start noticing things about yourself that you were previously able to ignore. You notice how badly you want recognition. You notice how deeply you fear losing control. You notice how one person's opinion changes your mood. You notice how quickly your obedience weakens when desire becomes strong. Do not run from this discovery. The mirror did not create the stain. It only allowed you to see it. The Awliya understood that seeing the hidden attachment is itself a mercy, because you cannot remove a chain you refuse to admit is there. Sometimes Allah allows a door to close, a person to leave, a plan to fail, or praise to disappear, and suddenly the heart becomes restless. Why? Because something you thought you merely loved may have become something you depended upon. The loss did not create the attachment. It revealed it. And in that moment, La ilaha becomes real. The nafs cries, I cannot live without this. The heart replies, you are not my Lord. The nafs says, if they leave, I am nothing. The heart replies, my worth was never in their hands. The nafs says, if this door closes, my future is finished. The heart replies, the door was never the source. Allah is. This is the first transformation of La ilaha illallah. You stop allowing temporary things to carry eternal weight. You can love people without worshipping their approval. You can earn wealth without making wealth your security. You can pursue success without turning success into your identity. You can experience loss without believing Allah has disappeared with what you lost. The Awliya did not necessarily own less than everyone else. They were simply owned by less. That is the difference. The dunya may remain in your hands. It must not become the ruler of your heart. So today, do not repeat La ilaha illallah only with your tongue. Pause after La ilaha and ask yourself, what inside me still acts like a master? Do not answer quickly. Let the question disturb you, because that disturbance may be the beginning of freedom. Every hidden throne that falls makes more room for Allah. Every false dependence that weakens makes tawakkul stronger. Every desire you refuse for His sake teaches the nafs that it is a servant, not a king. And when La ilaha has finally begun clearing the heart, only then can the second half enter with its full beauty. Illallah, except Allah. That is where the empty heart finally discovers who it was created to belong to. Lesson 2. Ilallah. Return the empty heart to the one who never leaves. After La ilaha breaks the false thrones, the heart cannot remain empty. It must belong somewhere. This is why the declaration does not stop at rejection. It immediately turns the entire heart toward one destination. Ilallah, except Allah. The Awliya understood that removing attachment is only half the journey. You can stop chasing one person and begin chasing another. You can leave the love of wealth and become addicted to recognition. You can abandon one desire and secretly become proud of how spiritual you have become. The nafs is clever. When one throne falls, it quickly searches for another. This is why Ilallah is so powerful. It tells the heart, do not simply become empty of the dunya, become full of Allah. Think about the moments when life suddenly feels unstable. A person changes toward you, a plan collapses, money becomes uncertain, someone you trusted disappoints you, or the future no longer looks the way you imagined. In those moments, the nafs immediately begins searching for something to hold. It says, call this person. Fix everything immediately. Find another source of security. Control the outcome before it gets worse. But the heart that has begun understanding Ilallah learns a different response. It remembers that people may change, but Allah does not. Doors may close, but Al-Fatah remains. Provision may become uncertain, but Ar-Razaq remains. The heart may break, but Al-Jabbar remains. You may not understand the road, but Al-Hadi remains. Everything around you can change, while the one your heart belongs to remains unchanged. This was one of the great secrets of the Awliya. Their peace was not built upon having predictable lives. It was built upon knowing where to return when life became unpredictable. They loved people, but they knew people could leave. They appreciated wealth, but they knew wealth could disappear. They valued health, but they knew the body could weaken. They enjoyed blessings, but they never confused the blessing with the one who gave it. Their hearts learned to say, if this remains, Alhamdulillah. If this leaves, Allah remains. That is Ilallah. Many people say, Allah is enough, but secretly mean, Allah is enough as long as I also have the person I love, the money I need, the future I planned, and the respect I expect. The Awliya searched for a deeper surrender. They wanted a heart capable of saying, my Lord, I love your blessings, but I will not make any blessing greater than you. I may cry when something leaves, but I will not believe that you left with it. This is not emotional coldness, it is spiritual freedom. A heart attached to Allah can love deeply without becoming enslaved to what it loves. It can grieve without losing faith, wait without collapsing, and experience rejection without believing its worth has disappeared. Why? Because its center is no longer in the hands of creation. This is what Ilallah changes. It moves your center back to Allah. Perhaps you have placed your peace inside the hands of someone who does not even know how much power you have given them. One message from them makes you happy. One silence destroys your day. Their attention makes you feel valuable. Their distance makes you feel worthless. The Awliya would ask, how did a servant of Allah become the owner of your peace? Take the heart back, not by becoming harsh, not by stopping love, but by putting love in its proper place. Love people through Allah. Trust people, but rely upon Allah. Accept help from people, but know that help ultimately comes by Allah's permission. When someone supports you, thank them, but remember the one who moved their heart toward you. When someone leaves, grieve if you must, but do not allow their departure to convince you that your life has become empty, because Ilallah means the deepest part of you still has somewhere to return. This is also why the Awliya treasured solitude. When human voices disappeared, they discovered whether their hearts truly knew Allah or merely knew how to speak about Him. It is easy to say Allah is near when everyone you love surrounds you, but what happens at night when no one understands what you are carrying? What happens when the phone is silent? What happens when the person you expected to comfort you cannot? That is where Ilallah becomes more than theology. It becomes survival. You sit alone and remember, Allah knows, Allah sees, Allah hears, Allah remains, and slowly, loneliness begins changing into solitude with Allah. The wound may still exist, but you no longer feel spiritually abandoned inside it. The Awliya understood that the heart becomes powerful when it stops demanding from creation what only the Creator can give. People can give companionship. They cannot give permanent security. People can praise you. They cannot give your soul its true worth. People can open opportunities. They cannot control your destiny. People can love you. They cannot fill the place inside you that was created for Allah. When you expect them to do so, even good relationships begin carrying a weight they were never created to bear. But when Ilallah enters the heart, relationships become healthier because you stop making people responsible for saving you from every emptiness. You begin receiving love as a blessing rather than worshipping it as a necessity. You begin receiving provision as a gift rather than confusing it with the provider. You begin receiving success with gratitude rather than building your identity upon it. This is how the heart becomes lighter. So the next time something you love begins slipping from your hands, do not immediately ask only, how can I keep this? Ask a deeper question. If Allah allows this to leave, will He still be enough for me? That question may frighten the Nafs, but it can free the soul. Repeat, La ilaha illallah. And when you reach illallah, slow down. Let your heart say, after every person, Allah. After every loss, Allah. After every closed door, Allah. After every fear, Allah. After everything I cannot control, Allah. The Awliya did not find peace because nothing was ever taken from them. They found peace because every loss eventually pushed them back toward the one who could never be taken away. This is the second transformation of La Ilaha Illallah. First, the heart learns what it must release. Then it discovers who was waiting beneath every attachment, Allah. Lesson 3. Let La Ilaha Illallah expose what your heart secretly serves. There is something frightening about sincere dhikr. It does not only make you feel peaceful, it makes you see yourself clearly. The Awliya understood that La Ilaha Illallah is like a mirror placed in front of the heart. It does not create your hidden attachments, your pride, your jealousy, or your fear. It simply reveals what was already there. And sometimes, what it reveals is uncomfortable. You may believe that you trust Allah until one financial problem makes you panic. You may believe that you are humble until someone else receives the praise you wanted. You may believe that you have forgiven someone until you hear their name and the old anger returns. You may believe that you do good only for Allah until nobody notices your effort and your heart becomes disappointed. This is where La ilaha illallah begins to go deeper, because the question is no longer only, what do I believe? The question becomes, what actually controls me? That is a much harder question. The Awliya watched their reactions carefully, because reactions often reveal what words hide. A person can speak beautifully about tawakkul, but fear reveals where the heart truly relies. A person can speak about humility, but criticism reveals how much the ego still wants to be protected. A person can speak about detachment, but loss reveals how deeply the dunya has entered the heart. The Nafs does not like this kind of honesty. It wants you to keep saying sacred words while leaving its throne untouched. It does not mind dhikr if the dhikr never challenges your pride. It does not mind worship if worship makes you feel superior. It does not mind knowledge if knowledge gives you an identity. But when La ilaha illallah begins asking, who are you without praise? Who are you without control? Who are you without the thing you are afraid to lose? The Nafs becomes restless. That restlessness is important. Do not run from it. The discomfort may be showing you exactly where your purification must begin. Ask yourself honestly, what makes me feel valuable? Is it Allah's acceptance or people's admiration? What makes me feel safe? Is it Allah's care or the amount of money in my account? What determines whether I have a peaceful day? Is it remembrance of Allah or whether someone gives me attention? What makes me angry? Is it because something displeasing to Allah happened or because my ego was not treated the way it expected? These questions can reveal hidden forms of servitude. Not worship in the outward sense, but dependence so strong that something created begins controlling your emotions, your choices, and your peace. This is why the Awliya did not only count how much dhikr they performed, they examined what the dhikr was uncovering. If remembrance increased but pride also increased, they became afraid. If worship increased but mercy toward people decreased, they examined themselves. If knowledge increased but the need to be admired increased with it, they knew the Nafs had found another disguise. The Nafs can wear religious clothing. It can become proud of prayer. It can become proud of fasting. It can become proud of knowledge. It can even become proud of how little it cares about the dunya. And this is one of its most dangerous tricks. It can turn the journey of destroying the ego into another reason to admire the ego. That is why La ilaha illallah must remain alive. Every time pride says, look how spiritual you are, answer with La ilaha illallah. Every time jealousy says, why did Allah give them what you wanted? Answer with La ilaha illallah. Every time fear says, without this person you are finished, answer with La ilaha illallah. Every time your ego says, you deserve more recognition, answer with La ilaha illallah. Not as a way of escaping the feeling, but as a way of placing the feeling back beneath Allah. The Awliya understood that the heart cannot be purified by pretending its diseases are not there. You do not heal jealousy by saying, I am not jealous. You heal it by admitting, my Lord, I found jealousy inside me. Purify it. You do not heal pride by pretending to be humble. You heal it by recognizing how badly the Nafs wants to feel above others. You do not heal attachment by saying, I do not care. You heal it by noticing what happens inside you when the thing is threatened. Sincere dhikr gives you the courage to stop lying to yourself, and this honesty is mercy. Because what you can see, you can take to Allah. What you name, you can repent from. What you recognize, you can begin to discipline. The real danger is not discovering darkness inside the heart. The real danger is carrying darkness for years while believing you are already full of light. So when La ilaha illallah reveals something ugly inside you, do not become hopeless. Say Alhamdulillah that you were allowed to see it. Perhaps Allah is showing you the disease because He wants you to seek the cure. Perhaps the anger you thought was strength is being exposed as pride. Perhaps the attachment you called love is being exposed as dependence. Perhaps the ambition you called purpose is being exposed as hunger for recognition. Perhaps the silence you called patience is hiding resentment. The Awliya treated these discoveries as openings. They did not say, "I found pride, therefore I am ruined." They said, "I found pride, therefore now I know what must be purified." This is spiritual maturity. You stop protecting the image of being good and start asking Allah to make the heart good. You stop trying to look purified and start accepting the painful work of purification. And slowly, La ilaha illallah becomes sharper inside you. It begins separating what is for Allah from what is for the ego. It begins showing you where love ends and dependency begins, where confidence ends and pride begins, where ambition ends and greed begins, where patience ends and suppressed resentment begins. This is why the Dhikr transforms the heart. It does not only fill you with something, it reveals what must leave. Tonight, or whenever you sit in Dhikr, try something different. Do not rush. After repeating La ilaha illallah, remain silent for a moment and ask, what inside me is resisting these words? Then wait. Perhaps the answer will come through a memory, a person, a fear, a desire, a resentment, a need for approval. Whatever appears, do not push it away. Bring it before Allah. Say, "My Lord, this is what has been competing with you inside me. I cannot remove it without your help." That prayer may be more valuable than 1,000 repetitions performed without awareness. Because once the heart begins telling the truth, transformation becomes possible. The Awliya knew that La ilaha illallah is not only a declaration against idols outside you, it is a declaration against every hidden throne inside you. And the deeper you go, the more clearly you begin to see what has been sitting there. That is not failure, that is awakening. Because before the heart can become free, it must first discover what has been holding it captive. Lesson 4. La ilaha illallah teaches the Nafs to bow without destroying your humanity. The Awliya understood something very subtle about the Nafs. The goal is not to erase your humanity, kill every desire, remove every emotion, or turn you into someone who feels nothing. The real goal is to teach every desire, every fear, every emotion, and every impulse that it is a servant, not a king. This is one of the deepest transformations hidden inside La ilaha illallah. The Nafs becomes dangerous when it begins speaking with authority. It says, "I am angry, so I must respond. I desire this, so I must have it. I am hurt, so I must hurt them back. I am afraid, so I must control everything. I am praised, so I must be important. I am ignored, so I must prove myself." The Nafs takes a feeling and turns it into a command. The Awliya refused to live this way. They understood that feeling something does not mean obeying it. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can feel desire without becoming desire. You can feel fear without becoming fear. You can feel jealousy without allowing jealousy to decide your behavior. You can feel wounded without giving the wound permission to control your tongue. This is where La ilaha illallah becomes discipline. Every time the Nafs speaks, the Dhikr asks a hidden question. Who is the master here? Is it the impulse? Or is it Allah? This question changes everything. Suppose someone insults you, the Nafs rises immediately. It says, answer now, humiliate them, make sure they never speak to you like that again. But La ilaha illallah enters like a pause between the wound and the reaction. It says, your anger is real, but it is not your Lord. That pause is spiritual power. Most people think strength means reacting quickly. The Awliya understood that real strength often means refusing to let the Nafs decide the next move. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Sometimes it is walking away. Sometimes it is speaking gently when the ego wants harshness. Sometimes it is defending truth without feeding hatred. This is not weakness. This is mastery. The Nafs hates delay because delay weakens its control. It wants immediate satisfaction, immediate food, immediate revenge, immediate praise, immediate comfort, immediate attention. But the Awliya trained themselves to wait. They knew that many desires lose their power when they are not obeyed immediately. This is why dhikr and discipline are inseparable. You say, La ilaha illallah, then the test comes. Do you live it? The Nafs says, you need this. You ask, do I need it, or do I simply want it? The Nafs says, they must respect you. You ask, do I need their respect, or do I need Allah's pleasure? The Nafs says, you cannot tolerate this discomfort. You ask, is discomfort really unbearable, or has my soul simply become addicted to ease? The Awliya understood that every small act of restraint weakens the throne of the Nafs, not because comfort is haram, not because pleasure is evil, but because the human being must never become a slave to what is lawful either. This is a very important distinction. The dunya does not only enslave through forbidden things, it can enslave through permissible things too. Food can be halal, but gluttony can strengthen heedlessness. Rest can be halal, but constant comfort can weaken discipline. Wealth can be halal, but attachment can make the heart fearful. Praise can be harmless, but dependence on praise can make sincerity disappear. The Awliya learned to enjoy blessings without obeying them. They ate, but food did not command them. They rested, but comfort did not own them. They used wealth, but wealth did not define them. They loved people, but people did not decide their worth. This is what La Ilaha Illallah does to the Nafs. It does not eliminate the desire. It changes the hierarchy. Allah above desire, truth above ego, obedience above comfort, sincerity above applause, the hereafter above immediate satisfaction. This is the internal order the Awliya protected, and when that order remains, the Nafs becomes useful instead of destructive. Think about anger. Anger itself is not always evil. Sometimes anger can move a person to defend truth, protect the weak, or confront injustice. But the moment anger becomes detached from Allah, it becomes fire. The Nafs says, burn everything. The purified heart says, use the fire where Allah permits, then extinguish it. The same is true of desire. Desire can lead to marriage, work, ambition, creativity, and building something beneficial. But when desire becomes ruler, it says, I want this even if Allah has forbidden the path. That is where the servant must say, La ilaha illallah. My desire is not my God. The Awliya did not hate the Nafs. They trained it. Like a wild horse, it has strength, but without direction it can throw the rider into destruction. The horse does not need to be killed, it needs reins. La ilaha illallah becomes the rein. At first, the Nafs resists, it becomes louder. Have you ever tried to break a habit and suddenly the desire became stronger? That is normal. The Nafs often screams when it realizes it is losing authority. You decide to speak less, and suddenly the urge to argue becomes intense. You decide to lower your gaze, and temptation feels stronger. You decide to stop seeking praise, and suddenly you notice how much you miss being recognized. You decide to detach from someone, and the heart begins remembering them even more. Do not assume this means the dhikr is not working. It may mean the chain has finally been touched. The Nafs often becomes loudest when its throne begins to shake. The Awliya knew this, so they did not panic when resistance appeared. They continued. They understood that discipline is not proved when everything feels easy. It is proved when the desire becomes strong, and the servant still chooses Allah. This is why one moment of restraint can become more spiritually powerful than many moments of comfort. The Nafs says, take revenge. You remain silent for Allah. The Nafs says, show them your good deed. You hide it. The Nafs says, eat more. You stop before excess. The Nafs says, sleep longer. You rise for prayer. The Nafs says, you deserve recognition. You serve quietly. These small acts may look ordinary to people, but inside, a kingdom is changing rulers. Every time the servant chooses Allah over impulse, the Nafs loses a little authority. Every time it loses authority, the heart gains freedom. This is the anatomy of transformation. Not one dramatic spiritual experience, 1,000 small surrenders. The Awliya understood that the deepest battles are usually invisible. People may see you sitting quietly, but they do not know the storm you just refused to obey. People may see you smiling, but they do not know how much anger you swallowed for Allah. People may see you walking away, but they do not know the ego that wanted to fight. People may see you giving charity, but they do not know how badly the Nafs wanted someone to notice. These hidden victories are precious, because the Nafs cannot perform for an audience when there is no audience. This is why hidden discipline is powerful. No applause, no recognition, no spiritual image. Only you and Allah. The Awliya also knew that the Nafs can disguise itself as spirituality. This is one of its most dangerous tricks. You begin doing dhikr, then the Nafs whispers, you are becoming special. You begin waking at night. It whispers, you are better than those who sleep. You begin fasting. It whispers, look how disciplined you are. You begin studying. It whispers, people should listen to you. Suddenly the very practices meant to weaken the Nafs begin feeding it. This is why La Ilaha Illallah must continue even inside worship. No, my dhikr is not my God. No, my knowledge is not my God. No, my spiritual progress is not my identity. Allah alone. This is deep purification. The Awliya feared spiritual pride because it can hide behind beautiful behavior. A person may stop chasing money and start chasing spiritual admiration. They may stop showing wealth and start showing piety. The clothing changes, the Nafs remains. This is why the heart must continually return to sincerity. When you finish dhikr, do not ask, how spiritual did I feel? Ask, did this make me more humble? When you finish prayer, do not ask, did people notice my devotion? Ask, did this make me gentler? When you learn something sacred, do not ask, how can I teach this? First ask, how can I live this? The Awliya measured the health of dhikr by character. If the tongue remembers Allah, but the heart becomes more arrogant, something is wrong. If worship increases but mercy decreases, something is wrong. If knowledge grows but patience shrinks, something is wrong. The goal is not to appear spiritual. The goal is to become surrendered. This is where La Ilaha Illallah becomes a living force. It teaches the Nafs that it may speak, but it will not rule. It may desire, but it will not decide. It may fear, but it will not control. It may become angry, but it will not own the tongue. It may love praise, but it will not receive worship. The Nafs does not disappear, it bows. This is the balance. Islam does not ask you to become emotionless. It asks your emotions to live under guidance. It does not ask you to stop wanting things. It asks you to want them in the right way. It does not ask you to stop loving the dunya. It asks you not to love it more than Allah. This is why the path of the Awliya was disciplined, but not lifeless. They laughed, they loved, they worked. They enjoyed halal blessings, but every blessing remained beneath one truth. La ilaha illallah. Nothing is ultimate except Allah. Nothing is master except Allah. Nothing deserves complete surrender except Allah. Before sleeping tonight, remember one moment from your day where the Nafs took control. Maybe you spoke too quickly. Maybe you became jealous. Maybe you sought approval. Maybe you chose comfort over obedience. Do not condemn yourself. Study the moment. Ask, what was my nafs demanding? Then ask, what would La Ilaha Illallah have required from me? This is how dhikr becomes training. Not only something you say during quiet moments, something you carry into the moment of temptation. The real test of La Ilaha Illallah is not how beautifully it sounds in solitude. It is what happens when the nafs says, obey me, and the heart answers, no, Allah first. This is the fourth transformation. The nafs does not die. The nafs learns its place, and when it finally learns that place, the heart begins experiencing something the dunya cannot give, the freedom of no longer being ruled by yourself. Lesson 5. La ilaha illallah polishes the heart until the dunya loses its shine. The Awliya understood that a heart does not usually become dark in one dramatic moment. It becomes dark slowly, almost invisibly, through small layers of heedlessness, repeated desires, hidden resentment, comparison, pride, attachment, disappointment, and sins that the servant stops taking seriously because they have become familiar. At first, the heart still feels everything. A harsh word disturbs it. A missed prayer troubles it. A hidden sin creates regret. A moment of arrogance feels heavy, but when the same things are repeated without repentance, the heart begins adapting to the darkness. What once hurt the conscience begins feeling ordinary, and what once brought tears may eventually produce nothing at all. This is one of the conditions the Awliya feared most, not simply committing a mistake, but becoming comfortable with distance from Allah. Because when the heart becomes used to darkness, the servant may continue outwardly as though everything is fine. The tongue still knows Islamic words, the body may still perform acts of worship, the person may still speak about Allah, advise others, and appear spiritually strong, while inwardly the heart has become distracted by the dunya. Once idan unfurred, this is where La Ilaha Illallah becomes a polishing force. Not because the words function mechanically, and not because repeating them without awareness automatically removes every disease, but because sincere remembrance repeatedly brings the heart back to its true center. The world says, look at what you are missing. La ilaha illallah. Fear says, what if everything goes wrong? La ilaha illallah. Pride says, look at what you achieved. La ilaha illallah. Jealousy says, why did Allah give them more? La ilaha illallah. Attachment says, without this person you cannot survive. La ilaha illallah. Regret says, your past will always define you. La ilaha illallah. Every sincere repetition is a return. The heart becomes dark because it forgets, and it begins to brighten when it remembers. The Awliya did not only ask, how much dhikr did I perform today? They asked a deeper question, what is this remembrance doing to my heart? Am I becoming easier to forgive? Am I becoming slower to anger? Am I becoming less desperate for praise? Am I becoming more grateful for small blessings? Am I becoming more willing to accept correction? Am I becoming less afraid of losing the dunya? These questions reveal whether the dhikr is moving from sound into character. Because the tongue may repeat La ilaha illallah while the heart continues worshipping approval. The tongue may repeat it while the heart remains full of envy. The tongue may repeat it while the person refuses to forgive, refuses to admit fault, and refuses to release a worldly attachment. The Awliya understood that real remembrance must eventually affect behavior, not instantly, not perfectly, but gradually. A polished heart begins responding differently to the same world. The insult still comes, but the anger no longer controls you as easily. The praise still comes, but you do not become intoxicated by it. The loss still hurts, but it no longer convinces you that Allah has abandoned you. The dunya still appears attractive, but something deeper inside remembers that it is temporary. This is the transformation. Nothing outside may have changed. The The same people remain, the same responsibilities remain, the same trials may remain, but the heart is no longer the same heart walking through them. The Awliya understood that this is one of the greatest miracles of Dhikr, not always changing the road, but changing the traveler. A person may begin remembrance hoping Allah will remove a problem, then discover that Allah first removed the fear of the problem. They may begin asking for more provision, then discover that the deeper gift was contentment. They may begin asking for a person to return, then discover that the deeper healing was becoming less dependent upon that person. They may begin asking for people to recognize them, then discover that remembrance made recognition feel less important. This is what happens when La Ilaha Illallah begins polishing the heart. The false shine of the dunya begins fading. Things you once believed were everything start looking smaller. We'll still appreciate them. We'll still enjoy halal blessings, but they no longer possess the same authority. The Awliya never taught that every beautiful thing in the dunya must be rejected. They taught that nothing temporary should be allowed to take the eternal place inside the heart. This difference is crucial. You can possess wealth while remaining detached. You can love family deeply while knowing they belong to Allah. You can pursue a career without turning achievement into your identity. You can appreciate praise without becoming addicted to it. You can enjoy comfort without becoming incapable of sacrifice. The polished heart uses the dunya without being used by it. The unpolished heart is different. It becomes emotionally controlled by whatever it values. If money increases, it feels secure. If money decreases, it collapses. If people praise, it feels worthy. If people criticize, it feels worthless. If a relationship is strong, it feels complete. If the relationship breaks, it feels as though life itself has ended. This is why the Awliya returned constantly to remembrance. They knew that the heart must be reminded again and again that no created thing can carry the weight of ultimate dependence. Only Allah can. And there is something else that happens through consistent remembrance. The heart begins noticing its own diseases more quickly. Before, you might remain angry for 3 days before realizing the ego was involved. Later, you recognize it within an hour. Eventually, you may recognize it while the anger is still rising. This is spiritual sensitivity. The heart becomes more awake. It catches the Nafs earlier. It notices when pride enters a good deed. It notices when jealousy appears beneath a smile. It notices when a conversation has become gossip. It notices when ambition has crossed into greed. It notices when attachment is becoming dependency. The disease may not disappear immediately, but awareness becomes faster. And awareness gives you a chance to return. This is one reason the Awliya guarded their hearts so carefully. They knew that a polished heart is not one that never becomes dusty. It is one that is cleaned quickly. The world will leave marks upon you. People will hurt you. Desires will rise. Pride will appear. Anger will come. Disappointment will enter. But the heart trained in Dhikr does not allow these things to remain forever. It returns again and again. This repeated return is the secret. Some people become discouraged because they expect one period of intense worship to permanently remove every weakness. Then anger returns, desire returns, or attachment returns, and they think nothing changed. The Awliya understood the path differently. Purification is not always the absence of recurring struggle. Sometimes purification is returning faster each time the struggle appears. You may still become angry, but now you apologize sooner. You may still feel jealousy, but now you make dua for the person instead of feeding resentment. You may still crave praise, but now you recognize the craving and hide your deed. You may still become attached, but now you bring that attachment before Allah before it becomes a chain. This is progress. The heart is learning. The Nafs is losing territory. The remembrance is becoming real. The Awliya also understood that the heart has limited space. Whatever fills it most will shape it most. If you spend hours every day consuming comparison, your heart will begin measuring itself against people. If you spend hours listening to anger, your heart will become angry. If you spend hours chasing attention, your heart will become dependent upon attention. If you fill the heart with dunya, dunya begins appearing enormous. But when you repeatedly return to La ilaha illallah, something begins changing in proportion. Allah becomes greater in your awareness. The dunya becomes smaller. The problem does not disappear, but its size changes. The person you feared disappointing does not disappear, but their opinion becomes less powerful. The future remains unknown, but uncertainty no longer feels like abandonment. This is what remembrance does. It restores scale. The dunya appears huge only when Allah has become small in your awareness. Of course, Allah is never small, but the distracted heart behaves as though He is distant, while temporary things appear enormous. Dhikr corrects this. It reminds the heart of who is truly greater. That is why a person can enter dhikr burdened by one problem and leave with the same problem but a completely different heart. The external fact has not changed. The internal scale has, and once the scale changes, peace becomes possible. The Awliya treasured this because they knew that most suffering comes not only from circumstances, but from the meaning the heart gives those circumstances. A closed door can mean, my life is over, or it can mean, Al-Hakim knows something I do not. A delay can mean, I have been forgotten, or it can mean, Allah is still writing. A loss can mean, I have nothing, or it can mean, what left my hands was never my Lord. The same event, a different heart. This is how La ilaha illallah changes reality from within. Not by pretending pain does not exist, but by refusing to allow pain to define Allah. The Awliya knew that, when the heart becomes polished, gratitude also becomes deeper. The unpolished heart sees blessings only when they are large. The polished heart notices small mercies, a glass of water, a peaceful morning, the ability to pray, the presence of family, a sin Allah concealed, a danger avoided, a door closed at the right time, a moment of guidance that could easily have been missed. The more the heart remembers Allah, the more it begins recognizing that mercy has been surrounding it all along. This changes the servant's relationship with abundance. They stop saying, I will be grateful when I have more. They begin saying, I already have reasons to be grateful. The Nafs always says, more. Dhikr says, look again. The Nafs says, you are missing something. Dhikr says, count what Allah has already given. The Nafs says, your life is incomplete. Dhikr says, Allah is still present. This is how contentment grows. Not because the servant loses ambition or stops asking Allah for more, but because desire no longer erases gratitude for what already exists. The Awliya also understood that a polished heart becomes softer toward people. This is one of the most important signs. If your remembrance makes you harsh, arrogant, judgmental, or convinced that you are spiritually superior, then something needs correction. True dhikr should make you more aware of your dependence upon Allah. And the more aware you become of your own dependence, the less eager you become to look down upon others. You see someone struggling and remember your own weaknesses. You see someone sinning and remember how many of your sins Allah concealed. You see someone falling and remember how many times Allah lifted you. The polished heart becomes merciful because it knows it survives only through mercy. This is why the Awliya were not only remembered for long hours of dhikr, they were remembered for character, gentleness, patience, generosity, humility, service. Because remembrance that never leaves the prayer mat has not yet completed its journey. It must enter the marketplace, the home, the family, the argument, the moment of temptation, the moment of success, the moment of failure. When someone wrongs you, La ilaha illallah must be there. When someone praises you, it must be there. When wealth increases, it must be there. When wealth decreases, it must be there. When the Nafs is pleased, it must be there. When the Nafs is angry, it must be there. This is how the heart is polished continuously, not only during formal remembrance, but through living remembrance. Eventually, the servant begins carrying La ilaha illallah, even when the tongue is silent. The meaning becomes present. A temptation appears, and something inside says, Allah first. A loss occurs, and something inside says, Allah remains. Praise comes, and something inside says, this is from Allah. Fear enters, and something inside says, Allah is greater. That is when the dhikr has moved beyond repetition. It has become an inner compass. The Awliya sought this station, not simply many words, a heart oriented toward Allah. And there is one final part of polishing that many people overlook. Sometimes Allah polishes the heart through hardship. Not every purification happens during peaceful dhikr. Sometimes the polishing comes through disappointment. A person leaves, a plan collapses, a reputation is damaged, a hidden weakness is exposed. The Nafs hates these moments because they scrape against the false identity it has built, but the heart may become cleaner through them. You discover how much you depended upon people. You discover how much praise mattered. You discover how weak your trust was. You discover how attached you were to control. Hardship becomes a mirror. Dhikr becomes the response. You say, La ilaha illallah, not because the pain is unreal, but because the pain is not your Lord. Not because the loss does not matter, but because Allah matters more. Not because you understand everything, but because you trust the one who does. This is how the heart becomes beautiful, not untouched by life, purified through life. The Awliya did not become luminous because nothing ever wounded them. They became luminous because every wound became another reason to return to Allah. Every hardship polished something, every loss removed something, every remembrance restored something, and slowly the heart began reflecting a different light. So if you want to know whether La ilaha illallah is transforming you, do not only count repetitions, look at your attachments. Look at your reactions. Look at your treatment of people. Look at how quickly you return after sin. Look at how much praise you need. Look at how much the dunya controls your mood. Then ask, is my heart becoming lighter? Is Allah becoming greater in my awareness? Are temporary things becoming smaller? If yes, continue. If not, do not abandon the dhikr. Deepen it. Slow it down. Bring awareness into it. Bring repentance into it. Bring sincerity into it. Because the purpose is not merely to say La ilaha illallah many times. The purpose is for La ilaha illallah to eventually say something through the way you live. To say through your patience, Allah is greater than my anger. Through your gratitude, Allah is greater than what I lack. Through your detachment, Allah is greater than what I fear losing. Through your humility, Allah is greater than my ego. Through your repentance, Allah is greater than my past. This is the fifth transformation. The heart that was once covered by the dust of the dunya begins to reflect the light of remembrance. And when that light grows strong enough, the world may still be around you, but it can no longer hide Allah from you. Lesson 6. La ilaha illallah breaks the fear of loss and teaches the heart who truly controls your provision, future, and destiny. There comes a point in the journey of La ilaha illallah when the dhikr must enter one of the deepest chambers of the human heart, the chamber of fear. The Awliya understood that many people sincerely believe in Allah, pray to Allah, and speak about trusting Allah. Yet beneath all of that faith, there may still be a hidden fear controlling their decisions, exhausting their minds, and stealing their peace. Fear of losing money, fear of losing someone they love, fear of sickness, fear of rejection, fear of becoming irrelevant, fear that tomorrow will not unfold according to the plan they have carefully created. These fears are human, but when fear becomes the ruler of the heart, La ilaha illallah comes to challenge its authority. The Awliya did not teach that a believer should never feel afraid. They knew the human heart naturally reacts to uncertainty, danger, loss, and change. Their secret was different. They refused to allow fear to decide who Allah was. A frightening circumstance could enter their life, but they would not interpret Allah through that circumstance. They interpreted the circumstance through what they knew about Allah. If provision became uncertain, they remembered Ar-Razaq. If the path disappeared, they remembered Al-Hadi. If every visible door closed, they remembered Al-Fattah. If tomorrow frightened them, they remembered Al-Wakil. If something shattered within them, they remembered Al-Jabbar. Their circumstances changed continuously, but the one they trusted did not change. This is where La Ilaha Illallah begins to dismantle anxiety at its deepest root, because many forms of anxiety are strengthened when the heart gives created things powers they never possessed. You look at your employer and begin believing your provision lives in that person's hands. You look at a customer, a business, an investment, or an opportunity and begin thinking, if this disappears, everything is finished. The heart slowly forgets that these are only doors, while Allah is the one who controls every door. The Awliya worked hard. They sought lawful provision. They planned wisely and accepted the means Allah placed within creation, but their hearts did not worship the means. This is one of the greatest distinctions between ordinary dependence and tawakkul. You use the rope, but you do not worship the rope. You knock upon the door, but you do not believe the door itself controls what reaches you. You work, but your work is not Ar-Razaq. You seek treatment, but the medicine is not Ash-Shafi. You ask someone for help, but that person cannot move even one blessing toward you, unless Allah permits it. When the servant forgets this, the means become enormous, and Allah becomes distant within awareness. Suddenly, losing one job feels like losing provision itself. One person leaving feels like losing love itself. One opportunity closing feels like losing the future itself. This is how fear grows. The heart confuses the channel with the source. Then comes La Ilaha Illallah. The channel is not Allah. The employer is not Allah. The money is not Allah. The relationship is not Allah. The opportunity is not Allah. The future is not Allah. Allah is Allah. The heart may lose one channel while the source remains infinite. This realization was deeply alive within the Awliya. If a door closed, they did not stop using effort, but they refused to humiliate their hearts before the door. They knew that the one who opened it was capable of opening 10 others. The person who truly knows Ar-Razaq does not become careless about work, but he becomes free from worshipping the workplace. He does not compromise his principles merely because another human being has threatened his income. He understands that the person standing in front of him is also a servant whose own breath, health, wealth, and ability belong entirely to Allah. Think carefully about how much of your fear is actually fear of losing a means. Perhaps you are staying in a harmful situation because your heart whispers, "If I leave, who will provide for me?" Perhaps you tolerate humiliation because you believe another person controls your future. Perhaps you compromise something you know is wrong because your Nafs tells you that obedience will cost you too much. This is where La Ilaha Illallah demands courage. It does not say, do nothing and expect everything. It says, do what is right, take the lawful means available to you, and never make those means your Lord. There is a tremendous difference. The Awliya knew that fear can quietly become a form of obedience. Whatever you fear excessively begins influencing your choices. You start arranging your life around avoiding its loss. If you fear people's opinions excessively, you change yourself to protect your image. If you fear poverty excessively, money begins deciding what you will tolerate. If you fear loneliness excessively, you remain attached to people who are destroying your peace. If you fear failure excessively, you may never attempt what Allah placed in your heart to pursue. The object of fear becomes a hidden master. Then La Ilaha comes and says, no. No created thing deserves this level of surrender. No person deserves the authority to decide whether you possess inner peace. No amount of money deserves to make you forget your Lord. No future deserves to be feared as though it exists independently from Allah. This is not motivational thinking. It is Tawhid entering emotional life. You may say Allah controls everything with your tongue, but the deeper question is whether your nervous heart believes it when circumstances become unstable. The Awliya tested themselves precisely in these moments. Anyone can say Allah is enough, while everything is available. The hidden reality of the heart appears when something begins disappearing, when the salary changes, when health weakens, when the phone stops ringing, when someone who promised to stay decides to leave, when the plan you spent years building collapses in a single month, when the doctor gives news you were not prepared to hear, when your name is no longer important in the place where you once felt valued. These moments reveal what you believed would save you. The Nafs cries, "Everything is ending." The heart trained by La Ilaha Illallah replies, "Something may be ending, but Allah is not." This is spiritual maturity. It does not deny loss. The Awliya knew grief. They knew separation. They knew poverty, illness, opposition, disappointment, and death. Their spirituality was not built on pretending pain did not exist. It was built upon discovering that pain and Allah's presence can exist in the same moment. You can cry and still trust. You can miss someone and still surrender them. You can feel frightened and still obey. You can be confused and still refuse to despair. The Nafs tells you that tawakkul means feeling no fear. The Awliya understood that tawakkul often means walking toward Allah while fear is still present. That is a much deeper courage. The servant says, "My Lord, my heart is afraid, but I will not let fear speak louder than what you revealed about yourself." The Nafs says, "What if tomorrow goes wrong?" The heart says, "Tomorrow belongs to Allah." The Nafs says, "What if I lose everything?" The heart says, "If Allah remains, I have not lost everything." The Nafs says, "What if nobody helps me?" The heart says, "Help never truly came from people. It came through people by Allah's permission." This is how La Ilaha Illallah begins changing the architecture of fear. The Awliya also understood that one of the greatest fears is the fear of losing people. Human beings were created with the need for love, family, companionship, and connection, so this fear can be especially powerful. A person may become so emotionally dependent upon someone that their entire spiritual balance begins revolving around that relationship. If the person is kind, the heart feels alive. If the person becomes distant, the heart becomes empty. If they reply, there is peace. If they remain silent, anxiety takes over. If they approve, there is confidence. If they criticize, the servant feels worthless. The Awliya would ask a painful question: how did a created servant become the controller of a heart that belongs to Allah? This does not mean you stop loving people. The Awliya loved deeply. They formed families, friendships, brotherhoods, and communities. But they distinguished love from worshipful dependency. They allowed people into the heart without giving them the throne. This is one of the most beautiful freedoms inside La Ilaha Illallah. You can love someone intensely and still know that Allah is greater. You can appreciate their presence without believing you cannot survive their absence. You can grieve if they leave without believing your entire meaning disappeared with them. The Nafs says, "Without them, I am nothing." La Ilaha Illallah says, "They were a blessing. Allah was the giver." This shift does not make love smaller. It makes love healthier. When you no longer expect another human being to complete what only Allah can complete, you stop suffocating relationships with impossible demands. You no longer require someone to understand every wound, meet every emotional need, never disappoint you, and always remain available. You remember that they are weak servants too. People can love you, but they cannot become Allah for you. They can comfort you, but they cannot guarantee peace. They can promise to remain, but they do not own tomorrow. They can know much about you, but only Allah knows the entire heart. Once this truth settles, rejection changes meaning. It still hurts, but it no longer becomes a declaration of your worth. Someone can reject you without Allah rejecting you. Someone can misunderstand you without Allah misunderstanding you. Someone can forget your kindness while Allah remembers it perfectly. Someone can walk away while Allah remains nearer than your own awareness. This was one of the inner strengths of the Awliya. Their hearts had a secret place that creation could not reach, because that place belonged only to Allah. People could enter their lives, but they could not occupy the center. La ilaha illallah protected the center. This is why dhikr becomes so powerful in moments of loss. The dhikr does not magically erase grief, but it reminds the grieving heart what cannot be lost. Perhaps you lost someone, perhaps death took them, perhaps life separated you, perhaps betrayal destroyed the relationship. The Nafs says, part of your life has been taken forever. The heart says, what belonged to Allah returned to Allah, and I too belong to Him. The Awliya knew that everything in this dunya enters your hands temporarily. Nothing signs a permanent contract with you. Your body is temporary. Your youth is temporary. Your possessions are temporary. Your relationships in their worldly form are temporary. Even the house in which you feel secure will one day belong to someone else. The Nafs finds this terrifying because it wants permanence from a temporary world. But La Ilaha Illallah gives permanence a new location, not in dunya, in Allah. The world was never designed to provide the permanence the soul craves. That longing itself should lead you beyond the world. The Awliya understood that many disappointments come from asking temporary things to behave eternally. We want health never to change, people never to leave, wealth never to decrease, youth never to fade, and success never to disappear. Then life follows the law Allah placed within creation. Everything changes, and we experience shock, as though something unnatural occurred. Bang restores perspective. You say La ilaha illallah, and remember, the changing thing was never my Lord. My Lord does not fade. My Lord does not die. My Lord is not weakened by time. My Lord does not become unavailable. My Lord does not lose control. Now the heart has somewhere permanent to rest. The Awliya also used this declaration against the fear of the future. The future is one of the Nafs's favorite places to torture the heart, because it can create endless possibilities about things that have not happened. What if I become sick? What if the business fails? What if the relationship ends? What if my children struggle? What if I lose my home? What if people turn against me? The Nafs can make you suffer 100 imaginary futures in a single night. Yet none of them have occurred. The Awliya learned to bring the heart back to the only reality available now. Allah is here. Allah knows tomorrow. Allah was present before the problem appeared. Allah will remain after it passes. This did not make them irresponsible about planning. It protected them from trying to become gods over outcomes they could never control. There is a difference between planning and worshipping control. Planning says, I will take the means available to me. Control says, if I cannot guarantee the outcome, I cannot have peace. The first is wisdom. The second becomes a prison. La ilaha illallah breaks that prison by reminding you that you were never responsible for controlling the entire story. You were responsible for obedience within your part of it. This is enormously liberating. You are responsible for seeking lawful provision. You are not responsible for creating provision. You are responsible for caring for your family. You are not capable of protecting them from every event Allah has written. You are responsible for making wise decisions. You are not responsible for knowing everything that will follow. The Nafs becomes exhausted because it tries to carry divine responsibilities. Then it wonders why it cannot sleep. The Awliya returned those responsibilities to Allah, not lazily, trustingly. They worked during the day and surrendered at night. They planned and then said, My Lord, you know what I do not. They asked, then released the answer. They sought doors, then accepted which doors Allah chose to open. This is La ilaha illallah becoming tawakkul. One of the most beautiful things that happens at this stage is that the servant stops asking Allah only for certainty about outcomes and begins asking for certainty about Him. Earlier, the dua is, "O Allah, tell me that this will work." Later, it becomes, "O Allah, make my heart trust you whether it works or not." Earlier, "Promise me this person will stay." Later, "Keep my heart with you, whether they stay or leave." Earlier, "Guarantee that I will never experience hardship." Later, "Do not let hardship separate me from you." This is a profound transformation. The circumstances may remain uncertain, but the relationship becomes certain. The Awliya understood that this certainty is more valuable than knowing every detail of the future. If you knew exactly what would happen tomorrow, but did not know Allah, would that knowledge save your heart? But if you do not know tomorrow, and know Al-Wakil deeply, you possess something greater. The Nafs wants information. The soul wants Allah. This is why spiritual maturity often contains increasing surrender. The servant asks, works, plans, and hopes, but there is a new sentence beneath everything. "My Lord, choose for me." That sentence terrifies the Nafs because the Nafs wants to choose everything. It wants Allah to bless its plan, not necessarily replace it. The Awliya sought a station where the prayer became, "My Lord, if what I want will bring me closer to you, bring it. If it will become a veil, remove it. Even if my nafs cries." This is not an easy dua. It requires La ilaha illallah to have already weakened attachment, because now Allah's pleasure becomes more important than getting what you want. This is where loss begins looking different. Sometimes losing something becomes mercy. The Awliya knew that Allah may remove what the heart would never voluntarily release. A person, a position, a dream, a source of praise, an opportunity. At first, the nafs calls it destruction. Years later, the heart may recognize protection. How many things have you cried over that you later thanked Allah for removing? How many closed doors protected you from roads you could not see clearly? How many people left and revealed a strength in you that dependency had hidden? How many plans failed and redirected you towards something more beneficial? You saw one page. Allah knew the whole book. This is why the Awliya hesitated to declare every loss evil. They knew that some mercies arrive without looking merciful at first. La ilaha illallah helps the heart survive that period between the loss and the understanding. That period can be long. You do not yet know why. The reason has not become clear. You simply know who Allah is. And that knowledge must become enough to carry you until understanding arrives, or even if it never fully arrives in this life. This is one of the highest forms of tawakkul, trusting without explanation. The nafs says, "Explain this to me, then I will trust." The heart says, "I trust Al-Hakim, even when I do not yet understand his wisdom." This does not silence legitimate questions or emotions. It prevents questions from becoming accusations. The servant can say, "My Lord, I do not understand this. It hurts. I am confused. Help me." That is different from saying, "Allah has failed me." The Awliya brought their confusion to Allah rather than using confusion to leave Allah. This is essential. Sometimes people think spirituality means never admitting pain. The Awliya knew that Allah already knows the pain. There is no need to perform strength before Him. Say, "My Lord, I am afraid," but continue, "And I know you are greater than what I fear." Say, "My Lord, I miss what I lost." Then say, "But I know you remain." Say, "My Lord, I do not know how provision will come." Then say, "But I know you are Ar-Razak." That is living Tawhid honestly. The fear is acknowledged, then Allah is placed above it. This is the sixth transformation of La ilaha illallah. Your emotions stop being enemies and become opportunities to return. Fear says, "Remember Al-Hafiz." Need says, "Remember Ar-Razak." Confusion says, "Remember Al-Hadi." Brokenness says, "Remember Al-Jabbar." Closed doors say, remember Al-Fatah. Uncertainty says, remember Al-Wakil. The wound begins pointing toward a name of Allah. The Awliya therefore did not always ask, how can I escape this feeling immediately? Sometimes they asked, which name of Allah is this feeling teaching me to know? That question changes spiritual life. Fear of provision becomes a doorway to Al-Razak. A closed road becomes a doorway to Al-Fatah. Loneliness becomes a doorway to Al-Wali. Brokenness becomes a doorway to Al-Jabbar. Confusion becomes a doorway to Al-Hadi. You begin discovering that every human weakness can become a place of knowing Allah more deeply. This is why the Awliya could find nearness even within hardship. They did not love pain for itself. They loved what pain sometimes revealed about Allah. There are names you may know intellectually during ease and only truly experience during need. You knew Al-Razak as information until provision became uncertain. You knew Al-Jabbar until your heart broke. You knew Al-Wakil until there was nothing left to control. Then the name moved from your memory into your life. This is spiritual knowledge. The Awliya valued this lived knowledge because it changes the servant permanently. Once you have seen Allah provide from an unexpected direction, fear of provision may never look quite the same. Once you have been restored after believing you would never heal, future brokenness meets a heart that remembers Al-Jabbar. Once Allah has opened a path where every visible door appeared closed, despair has less authority next time. Your history with Allah becomes evidence. The Nafs says, what if He does not help you? Your own life says, how many times has He already carried me? This is a powerful practice. Remember the moments when Allah provided, protected, redirected, healed, forgave, or guided you. Not to become entitled to the same outcome, to remember the same Lord. Your circumstances in the past were different. Allah was the same. Your circumstances tomorrow will be different. Allah will still be the same. That continuity becomes an anchor. The Awliya also understood that La Ilaha Illallah liberates the servant from fear of people. Human beings possess a strange power when the heart forgets Allah. One person's approval can elevate you. One person's criticism can destroy you. One authority figure can frighten you into compromising what you know is right, because the heart behaves as though that person possesses ultimate control. But the person who deeply knows La Ilaha Illallah sees creation at its true size. A king is still a servant. A wealthy person is still dependent. A powerful person cannot guarantee their next heartbeat. Someone may possess influence over a temporary matter, but no human being owns destiny. This realization creates dignity. The servant becomes respectful without becoming spiritually humiliated before creation. They can ask without begging their worth away. They can accept help without worshipping the helper. They can obey legitimate authority without believing authority is absolute. They can hear criticism without making the critic their lord. The Awliya found courage because human power looked small beside divine power. That does not mean reckless behavior. It means the heart remains free. This freedom changes the way you speak, work, negotiate, and live. You stop lying merely to protect an image. You stop begging people to see your value. You stop destroying yourself to keep someone who wants to leave. You stop compromising every principle for financial security. Not because consequences disappear, but because consequences are no longer greater than Allah in your awareness. This is what Topword was always meant to do. Liberate the servant from servitude to creation. The phrase begins with negation for a reason. La ilaha, no false master. Then, illallah, Allah alone. There is another fear the Awliya confronted through this dhikr, fear of their own past. A person can become imprisoned by mistakes that happened years ago. The event is gone, but the Nafs keeps replaying it. You ruined everything. You can never become pure. Allah may forgive others, but not you. This despair is another false master, because now the past begins controlling the present, as though Allah's mercy has no authority over it. Then La Ilaha Illallah enters. My past is not my God, my sin is not greater than Allah, my shame will not decide whether I return. The Awliya understood that sincere repentance places the servant back at Allah's door. The memory may remain, consequences may remain, but despair must not be allowed to rule. Sometimes the heart keeps worshipping a past identity long after Allah has opened a new path. You still call yourself what you used to be. You still treat yourself as the person who made the mistake. You refuse to believe transformation can become real. But La Ilaha Illallah says that no created identity is absolute. Allah guides, Allah forgives, Allah transforms. The person who was heedless can become awake. The arrogant can become humble. The addicted can struggle toward freedom. The distant can return. This hope is part of Tawhid, because believing Allah can transform you is recognizing His power over what you thought was permanent. Do not make your weakness greater than Allah's ability to guide you. The Awliya also used remembrance to confront the fear of death, which sits beneath many other fears. We fear losing because every loss reminds us that nothing here is permanent. We fear aging because it reminds us that the body is moving toward its end. We fear separation because it teaches us that attachment cannot prevent departure. La ilaha illallah does not remove the seriousness of death. It changes who waits beyond it. For the heart that has lived remembering Allah, death is not moving into a universe without Him. It is leaving one stage of servanthood and moving toward the meeting it spent its life preparing for. This is why the Awliya wanted La ilaha illallah upon their final breath. But they understood something crucial. The easiest way to hope to die with these words is to live beneath their meaning. A person who has spent a lifetime saying, "Money is everything," cannot expect one final phrase to magically erase decades of attachment without Allah's mercy. A person who lives daily saying through choices, "Allah first," is preparing the heart continuously. Every time you choose truth over profit, you prepare. Every time you choose prayer over distraction, you prepare. Every time you choose forgiveness over ego, you prepare. Every time you release a forbidden attachment for Allah, you prepare. Every time you lose something and still say Allah remains, you prepare. The Awliya lived the final declaration before they needed to speak it finally. This is why fear gradually changed for them. They still feared accountability. They still respected the seriousness of death. But they did not live with the panic of a heart whose entire treasure was buried in the dunya. Their treasure was ahead. The person whose greatest treasure is worldly will naturally fear leaving the world excessively. The person whose greatest treasure is Allah begins preparing to meet Him. This does not mean longing for death or abandoning worldly responsibilities. It means no longer behaving as though the grave destroys everything meaningful. The dunya becomes a road rather than a home. And once the heart understands that, losses along the road become easier to place in perspective. This is why La ilaha illallah slowly removes the terror of impermanence. It tells the heart, everything temporary can change, but the eternal remains. Your body changes, Allah remains. Your circumstances change, Allah remains. People enter and leave, Allah remains. Your own emotions rise and fall, Allah remains. Even your level of spiritual sweetness changes, Allah remains. This sentence becomes the deep rhythm beneath life. Allah remains, Allah remains, Allah remains. The Awliya built their peace upon what remains rather than what changes. That is why external instability did not always create internal collapse. Their anchor was not inside the storm, it was beyond it. Now bring this lesson into your own life. Ask yourself what you fear losing most. Do not answer what sounds spiritual. Answer honestly. Is it money? A person? Health? Beauty? Status? Your children's future? Your reputation? Control? Now ask a second question. What have I secretly believed this thing gives me that only Allah can truly give? Maybe money represents safety. Maybe the relationship represents worth. Maybe control represents peace. Maybe status represents honor. Maybe beauty represents acceptance. Then take that need back to Allah. If you need safety, know Al-Hafiz. If you need provision, know Ar-Razak. If you need worth, remember that honor belongs to Allah. If you need guidance, know Al-Hadi. If you need restoration, know Al-Jabbar. Do not simply fight the attachment, redirect the need. This is what Ilallah does. The heart cannot remain empty. Give it Allah. When fear rises tonight, do not immediately distract yourself. Sit with it for a moment. Ask, what am I afraid of losing? Then say slowly, La ilaha illallah, not as an escape, as a correction. My job is not my provider. La ilaha illallah, this person is not the source of my worth. La ilaha illallah, this uncertainty is not greater than Allah's knowledge. La ilaha illallah, this closed door is not greater than Al-Fatah. La ilaha illallah, my broken heart is not beyond Al-Jabbar. La ilaha illallah, my future belongs to Allah. Now the dhikr is entering fear. This is what the Awliya wanted, not sacred words isolated from life, but sacred words entering every place where the Nafs had built a prison. And gradually, the heart begins noticing something extraordinary. The future is still unknown, but you are less frightened. The person has still left, but you are breathing again. The financial situation may not yet be resolved, but panic is no longer your lord. The same external world exists, yet internally the heart has changed masters. This is freedom, not freedom from responsibility, freedom from worshipping circumstances, not freedom from grief. Freedom from believing grief means Allah has disappeared. Not freedom from uncertainty. Freedom from believing uncertainty means there is no wisdom. The Awliya discovered that once La ilaha illallah reaches this depth, it changes the entire relationship with life. You work without worshipping work, love without worshipping people, plan without worshipping control, possess without worshipping possessions, and lose without believing the source was lost with the means. The world becomes something you travel through rather than something you desperately ask to become eternal. And perhaps this is one of the deepest secrets inside the declaration. The person who truly knows La ilaha illallah can lose many things and still possess peace, because their peace was never entirely stored inside what could be taken away. The Nafs says, keep everything, and then you will feel safe. The Awliya discovered something greater. Know Allah, and even when something leaves, your heart still has somewhere to stand. That is the sixth transformation of La ilaha illallah. Fear loses its throne. Loss loses its ability to define you. Provision returns to the hands of Ar-Razak. The future returns to Al-Wakil. Closed doors return to Al-Fatah. Your brokenness returns to Al-Jabbar, and your heart finally returns to the one it should have trusted from the beginning, Allah alone. Lesson 7. Leave La ilaha illallah before you hope to leave this world with it. The Awliya understood that the final secret of La ilaha illallah is not found merely in how beautifully the tongue pronounces it, how many times the fingers count it, or how emotional the heart feels while repeating it. Its deepest secret is revealed when the declaration begins governing the entire life of the servant, until choices, fears, relationships, ambitions, losses, successes, private habits, and even the way the servant prepares for death begin quietly saying the same thing. La ilaha illallah. There is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. Many people hope these will be among the final words they speak before leaving this world, and that is a beautiful hope. But the Awliya understood something deeper. If you want the final breath to carry La ilaha illallah, then allow the years before that breath to carry its meaning. Do not wait for death to teach the heart what the tongue has been saying throughout life. Let every day become preparation for that final declaration, because the tongue may speak words in a moment, but the heart spends years learning what those words truly mean. When you wake for prayer while the nafs begs for sleep, and you choose Allah, you are living La Ilaha Illallah. When money is offered through a path you know displeases Allah, and you walk away despite needing it, you are living La Ilaha Illallah. When someone humiliates you, and the nafs prepares revenge, but you refuse to let anger become your master, you are living La Ilaha Illallah. When the person you love leaves, and your heart breaks, yet beneath the grief you still say, "My Lord remains," you are living La Ilaha Illallah. When the future becomes frightening, and you continue taking the right steps without surrendering to panic, you are living La Ilaha Illallah. When people praise you and something inside you remembers that every good quality came only through Allah's mercy, you are living La Ilaha Illallah. This is where the dhikr becomes more than repetition. It becomes identity. The Awliya wanted their entire lives to become an explanation of these words. Their wealth said, Allah first. Their relationship said, Allah first. Their anger said, Allah first. Their hunger said, Allah first. Their reputation said, Allah first. Their hopes said, Allah first. Even their heartbreak eventually learned to say, Allah first. This is the highest transformation, because everything you learned in the previous lessons now comes together. La ilaha has been breaking the false masters, and illallah has been returning the empty heart toward Allah. The nafs has been exposed, disciplined, polished, and slowly freed from excessive fear of loss. Now one final question remains. Will you allow this declaration to shape the life you are still living? The Awliya knew that it is possible to perform dhikr while continuing to build a life around everything except Allah. A person may sit for an hour repeating sacred words, then spend the rest of the day obeying pride, jealousy, greed, resentment, and the hunger for recognition. The tongue says one thing, while the lifestyle says another. This is why they feared separation between remembrance and character. They wanted the dhikr to follow them when they stood up from the prayer mat. They wanted La Ilaha Illallah in the marketplace, where money tested sincerity. They wanted it inside the home, where family tested patience. They wanted it inside leadership, where authority tested humility. They wanted it inside solitude, where nobody remained to witness good deeds except Allah. They wanted it during success, where praise tested the ego. They wanted it during failure, where disappointment tested trust, because anyone can feel spiritual in a protected moment of remembrance. The deeper question is, what happens when life touches the weak places of your heart? Suppose you finish your dhikr and someone immediately irritates you. Perhaps that interruption is not separate from your spiritual practice. Perhaps it is the test of whether the remembrance entered your character. You just said, La ilaha illallah. Then anger says, obey me. Now the dhikr asks, did you mean what you said? This is powerful. The Awliya did not separate spiritual life from ordinary life as much as people often do today. The ordinary moment was where the inner truth became visible. How you respond when nobody respects you, how you behave when you possess power over someone weaker, how you speak when your enemy is not present to defend themselves, how you react when someone else receives what you wanted, how you use money when nobody can question you, how you behave when temptation appears privately. These moments expose the reality of the heart more clearly than public religious appearance ever can. The nafs loves public spirituality, because public spirituality can receive admiration. It becomes uncomfortable with private obedience, because there is nothing to gain from creation. That is why the Awliya valued secret acts so deeply: a hidden prayer, a private tear, anonymous charity, silent forgiveness, or a temptation abandoned when nobody would have discovered it, became evidence that illallah was becoming real. Because if nobody sees you except Allah, and you still choose Him, then something profound has happened inside the heart. You are no longer worshipping the audience. The audience may not even know there was a battle, but Allah knows. The Awliya also understood that living La Ilaha Illallah changes how you define success. This is one of the most important transformations because the dunya gives you its own measurements from childhood. It teaches you that success means more money, greater recognition, stronger status, more influence, more possessions, and perhaps more people knowing your name. None of these things are automatically wrong, but the danger begins when they become the final measurement of your worth. A person may gain the entire world while losing their heart. Another may lose worldly status while gaining sincerity, patience, and closeness to Allah. Which one truly succeeded? The Nafs struggles with this question because it loves visible measurements. It wants numbers. It wants applause. It wants evidence that the world considers you important. The Awliya learned to ask different questions. Did this achievement bring me closer to Allah? Did this wealth increase gratitude or greed? Did this knowledge make me humble or arrogant? Did this influence make me serve people or expect them to serve me? Did this relationship make me more obedient or more distracted? Did this hardship purify me or harden me? These became spiritual measurements. This is how La Ilaha Illallah changes ambition without destroying ambition. You may still build, create, work, learn, lead, marry, travel, and accomplish meaningful things, but the purpose changes. Success is no longer simply, I got what I wanted. Success becomes, what I received did not make me forget Allah. That is a much higher standard, because sometimes receiving what you wanted is a test harder than not receiving it. Failure often pushes people toward Allah. Success can make them feel independent. Pain often makes them pray. Comfort can make them forget. The Awliya therefore feared the test hidden inside blessing. When Allah gave them more, they increased gratitude because they knew abundance can quietly feed the nafs. When people praised them, they remembered their faults because praise can create spiritual intoxication. When knowledge increased, they asked for humility because knowledge without humility can become another veil. They understood that the greatest danger is not always losing blessings. Sometimes it is receiving them while the heart is unprepared. This is why a person living La Ilaha Illallah asks Allah not only for more, but for the ability to carry more without becoming distant. My Lord, if you give me wealth, do not let wealth enter the throne of my heart. If you give me influence, protect me from believing I am greater than those I serve. If you give me knowledge, protect me from looking down upon those who know less. If you give me love, do not allow that love to compete with you. If you give me success, let success make me more grateful, not more self-important. These are the du'as of a heart beginning to understand Tawheed. The Awliya also understood that living La Ilaha Illallah changes the relationship with people's opinions. This is one of the most difficult areas because human beings naturally care about belonging and reputation. The goal is not to become careless about how you affect others or to dismiss all advice. The goal is to stop allowing human approval to become the final judge of your worth. A person ruled by people's opinions lives exhausted. They change themselves depending upon who is watching. They hide truth to preserve admiration. They display good deeds to protect an image. They become emotionally unstable because praise lifts them and criticism destroys them. This means creation has been given too much power. Then La Ilaha Illallah enters. The heart begins remembering that Allah knows the version of you no audience sees. People may praise a deed that was spiritually empty. Allah knows. People may criticize a deed performed sincerely. Allah knows. People may misunderstand your intention. Allah knows. People may forget your sacrifice. Allah knows. This does not mean criticism becomes meaningless. Sometimes Allah sends correction through people, and humility requires listening carefully. But the heart stops collapsing whenever someone forms an opinion. The Awliya wanted to reach a place where praise did not intoxicate them and criticism did not destroy them. Not because they became cold, because they knew whose judgment was final. Imagine the freedom of doing good without constantly asking who noticed. Imagine apologizing because it is right, not because it protects your image. Imagine serving someone who can never repay you and feeling no need to tell the story afterward. Imagine being misunderstood and still remaining peaceful because you know Allah knows the truth. That is one of the freedoms La Ilaha Illallah gives. But there is an even deeper layer. Living this declaration means Allah begins becoming more beloved than your preferred version of yourself. Most people have an image they want to protect. I am intelligent. I am strong. I am generous. I am religious. I am successful. I am the person who is always right. Then life sends an event that threatens the image. Someone corrects you. You fail. Your weakness becomes visible. You make a mistake publicly. Suddenly the ego experiences pain greater than the actual event. Why? Because the identity is being challenged. The Awliya understood that sometimes Allah allows the image to crack so the servant can stop worshipping themselves. You are not the image. You are a servant. You can be intelligent and still be wrong. You can be spiritually committed and still have hidden diseases. You can be generous and still struggle with pride. You can be strong and still need help. Humility is not pretending you have no strengths. It is knowing every strength remains a gift from Allah. This is why La Ilaha Illallah can become painful before it becomes peaceful. It removes the identities the Nafs has built. At first the servant says, I am successful. Then life teaches, success belongs to Allah. The servant says, I am strong. Then weakness comes. The servant says, people need me. Then life continues without them. These experiences can humble the heart, and a humbled heart begins discovering an extraordinary peace. You no longer need to carry the exhausting responsibility of being extraordinary. You only need to be sincere. The Awliya did not pursue annihilation of healthy personality or responsibility. They pursued freedom from the illusion of self-sufficiency. The servant stopped saying inwardly, everything depends upon me. Instead, my effort matters, but the outcome belongs to Allah. My responsibility matters, but my Lord controls what I cannot. My choices matter, but every ability I possess was given. This is a balanced surrender, and this surrender prepares the heart for death in a way nothing else can. Because death is the final moment when every illusion of ownership collapses. During life you say, my house. Death says, you are leaving it. You say, my money. Death says, someone else will count it. You say, my position. Death says, someone else will take it. You say, my body. Death says, even this was only entrusted to you. Everything the Nafs called mine begins remaining behind. The Awliya remembered death, not because they hated life, but because death reveals truth. It reveals how little we ever truly owned. This makes La Ilaha Illallah incredibly powerful. The person who spends life releasing false ownership is practicing for the final release. They give charity and learn, this wealth was never entirely mine. They forgive and learn, my ego does not own justice. They surrender plans and learn, the future was never mine. They accept aging and learn, the body was always temporary. Little by little, the heart becomes familiar with surrender. Then when the final surrender arrives, death is not introducing an entirely new language. The heart has practiced saying, Allah first, Allah remains. To Allah I belong. The Awliya also knew that preparing for death does not mean spending life in despair. On the contrary, remembrance of death can make life more meaningful. If you knew this conversation with someone might be your last, would you still speak harshly? If you knew this prayer might be your last, would you rush through it? If you knew this Friday might be your final Friday, Would you waste it completely? If you knew you might never get another chance to apologize, would your ego still be worth protecting? Death strips away triviality. The argument that feels enormous today becomes small beside eternity. The praise you desperately seek becomes small. The possession you envy becomes small. The grudge you have carried for 10 years becomes terrifyingly expensive. This is one reason the Awliya remembered death. It restored proportion, and La Ilaha Illallah becomes the center of that proportion, because the declaration tells you what remains important when everything temporary falls away. Not your followers, not your title, not your appearance, not how many people admired you. Your relationship with Allah, that remains. This is where many seekers experience a major transformation. At the beginning of the spiritual path, they ask, how can I get more from Allah? Later, the question becomes, how can I belong more completely to Allah? At first they seek blessings, later they seek the giver. At first they want Allah to fix life, later they want life to bring them closer to Allah, even if the path includes difficulty. This is a profound shift from transaction to servanthood. The Nafs approaches Allah saying, give me. The purified heart eventually learns to say, take me toward you. This does not mean stopping dua for worldly needs. The Prophet taught believers to ask Allah, and the servant remains needy. It means there is now a deeper desire beneath every request. My Lord, whatever you give, do not let it take me away from you. Whatever you withhold, do not let the withholding make me leave you. Whatever you write, let it become a road toward you. This is the maturity of Ilallah. The Awliya also understood that one of the last idols to fall can be the desire for spiritual experiences themselves. This is subtle. A person begins dhikr and experiences sweetness. Tears flow. The chest feels light. The heart feels extraordinarily near to Allah. Then one day the sweetness disappears. Dhikr feels dry. Prayer feels ordinary. The person becomes worried. Where did Allah go? But Allah did not go anywhere. The feeling changed. The Awliya understood that sometimes the seeker becomes attached not to Allah, but to the feeling of closeness. This attachment must also be purified. If you worship only when worship feels beautiful, perhaps you are still seeking yourself inside the worship. The deeper station is, I remember Allah because He is worthy of remembrance, whether my heart feels sweetness today or not. I pray because He is my Lord, not because every prayer gives me emotional reward. This is powerful. Spiritual dryness can reveal sincerity. Will you continue when the emotional reward disappears? The Nafs loves extraordinary experiences because they make it feel special. The Awliya returned to servanthood. They knew that the purpose of dhikr was not to collect spiritual sensations. It was to remember Allah. This protects the seeker from another hidden throne. Even spirituality itself cannot replace Allah. La ilaha illallah. No feeling, no state, no vision, no praise, Allah alone. This also protects against judging other believers. You may experience a period of strong devotion and begin wondering why everyone else is not like you. Be careful. The moment your worship makes you feel superior, the Nafs may have entered through the back door. The Awliya feared this. The person you look down upon today may repent tomorrow and rise beyond you. You do not know the ending, and you do not know whether your own deeds are accepted. This awareness creates humility. The believer who truly knows La Ilaha Illallah becomes increasingly hesitant to build a throne for themselves above others. They see another sinner and think, without Allah's protection, that could have been me. They see another person struggling and make dua instead of enjoying superiority. The heart becomes softer. This is one of the strongest signs that the dhikr is reaching deeper. If remembrance makes you harsh, something needs correction. If it makes you humble, merciful, patient, and aware of your need for Allah, it is beginning to bear fruit. The Awliya understood that the final fruit of Tawheed is beautiful character, because once the ego becomes smaller, there is more room for mercy. You do not need to win every argument. You do not need to expose every person. You do not need to prove your intelligence. You do not need to remind everyone of your sacrifices. Allah knows. That becomes enough. Imagine how much energy the Nafs consumes by constantly trying to protect itself, protect the image, protect the reputation, protect the position, protect the argument, protect the superiority. La ilaha illallah allows the servant to put that burden down. You can admit, I was wrong, and survive. You can say, I do not know, and survive. You can watch another person receive praise and survive. You can apologize first and survive. The ego believed these things would destroy it. They do not. They free it from pretending. This is why the Awliya practiced humility not as weakness, but as freedom. And freedom is ultimately what La ilaha illallah offers. Freedom from false gods. Freedom from the tyranny of the Nafs. Freedom from people's approval. Freedom from excessive fear of provision. Freedom from worshipping control. Freedom from believing your past owns your future. Freedom from chasing the dunya as though it can become eternal. But there is one more freedom. Freedom from yourself. Not from healthy identity, responsibility, or dignity, but from the exhausting belief that everything begins and ends with you. The servant eventually realizes, I did not create myself. I do not sustain my heartbeat. I do not own tomorrow. I cannot guide my own heart without Allah. Even my ability to remember Allah is a gift. What remains to be proud of? This realization does not make the servant useless. It makes them grateful. They work harder because effort becomes worship, but they become less arrogant because they know the ability to work was given. They seek knowledge, but knowledge creates humility. They serve, but do not believe people owe them worship. They accomplish, but attribution returns to Allah. This is a beautiful state. Strong hands, a humble heart, active in the dunya, detached inwardly. This was part of the balance the Awliya sought. They did not all abandon the world. Many served communities, taught, worked, raised families, advised rulers, helped the poor, and fulfilled responsibilities. But the dunya remained outside the throne room. Allah alone occupied the center. Now bring this final lesson into your own life. Do not ask only, how many times do I say La ilaha illallah? Ask, what would my life look like if I truly lived it? Would one person still control your peace so completely? Would one closed door still convince you Allah abandoned you? Would one criticism occupy your mind for days? Would money still make you compromise what you know is wrong? Would praise still feel like oxygen? Would the dunya still look permanent enough to sacrifice the hereafter for it? These questions are not meant to make you feel condemned. They are invitations. Each weakness shows where the dhikr must travel next. If approval controls you, carry La ilaha illallah into approval. If money controls you, carry it into provision. If anger controls you, carry it into conflict. If lust controls you, carry it into desire. If fear controls you, carry it into uncertainty. If grief controls you, carry it into loss. Do not keep the dhikr only in the mouth. Take it to the exact location of the wound. That is where transformation happens. And remember that this is a lifelong journey. Do not expect to say La ilaha illallah sincerely for 1 week and suddenly become free from every attachment built over decades. The Awliya understood istiqamah, steady return. Some days you will feel strong. Some days the nafs will overpower you. Some days you will resist a temptation beautifully. The next day you may fall into something smaller. Do not let inconsistency become despair. Return. The nafs says, you failed again. Stop trying. La ilaha illallah says, my failure is not my Lord. Return. You became proud. Return. You became attached. Return. You became angry. Return. You became heedless. Return. The road to Allah is filled with returning. The Awliya were not great because they never needed repentance. They were great because they knew where to go when they discovered darkness. Allah, always Allah. This is why the second half of the declaration is so beautiful. Ilallah. After failure, Allah. After sin, Allah. After loss, Allah. After success, Allah. After everyone leaves, Allah. After your own strength fails, Allah. This is the destination hidden inside the dhikr. Then comes the final test of the declaration, death itself. One day, whether after many years or sooner than expected, the heart will begin releasing this world. The house remains behind. The phone becomes silent. The business continues without you. People speak your name for some time, then less often. The body you protected so carefully returns to the earth. What remains of the identity the Nafs defended so fiercely? This is why the Awliya treated La Ilaha Illallah as preparation for reality. Death is not the moment Tawhid suddenly becomes relevant. It is the moment everything else finally reveals how temporary it always was. The person who lived for praise discovers that praise cannot enter the grave. The person who lived for wealth discovers wealth cannot answer for them. The person who lived for status discovers every title has ended. But the person who spent life returning to Allah carries something different: recognition. Not recognition of Allah's essence in a way the human mind can comprehend, but familiarity with servanthood. They know the direction of the heart. During fear, they returned to Allah. During joy, they thanked Allah. During sin, they repented to Allah. During loneliness, they spoke to Allah. During confusion, they asked Allah. Throughout life, every road eventually came back to Allah. Now the final road does the same. This is why living La Ilaha Illallah matters. You are teaching the heart where home is. Every dhikr is a return. Every prayer is a return. Every repentance is a return. Every act of tawakkul is a return. One day there will be a final return, and perhaps the most beautiful preparation is to make that destination familiar before you arrive. So when you say, La ilaha illallah, do not say it only as something you already know. Say it as something you are still learning to become. Let La ilaha ask, what still owns me? Let Ilallah answer, Allah alone deserves the center. Let it enter your wealth. Let it enter your love. Let it enter your fear. Let it enter your ambition. Let it enter your wounds. Let it enter your private life. Let it enter the parts of you that nobody sees. Because the greatest transformation is not that the tongue becomes skilled at dhikr. It is that the entire person becomes a witness to what the tongue declares. The Awliya understood that eventually the heart should become so accustomed to returning to Allah that the world cannot permanently distract it. The dunya may pull, the heart returns. The nafs may rise, the heart returns. Praise may intoxicate for a moment, the heart wakes and returns. Pain may overwhelm, the heart cries and returns. This repeated return is the life of Tawhid. You may never become flawless, but you can become oriented. A compass can shake and still point north. The heart may shake and still point toward Allah. That is what matters. And as La Ilaha Illallah becomes deeper, an extraordinary transformation takes place. At first you say the dhikr because you want peace. Later, you want Allah more than peace. At first you say it because you want your problem solved. Later, you want your heart to remain with Allah, whether the problem is solved today or tomorrow. At first you say it because you fear losing the dunya. Later, you fear losing Allah's pleasure more than losing the dunya. This is the maturity of remembrance. The gift becomes secondary. The giver becomes central. And perhaps this is what the Awliya were pointing toward all along. Not a dhikr that helps you acquire everything. A dhikr that teaches you that everything without Allah is still emptiness, while a heart with Allah possesses a richness the dunya cannot measure. So live these words, live them before the final illness, live them before old age, Live them while you still have choices to make. Live them while the nafs can still be disciplined. Live them while there are people to forgive. Live them while you still have wealth to give. Live them while you still have strength to pray. Do not wait until everything is being taken from you to begin learning detachment. Give some things willingly for Allah now. Give time. Give ego. Give resentment. Give unlawful desire. Give the need to always be right. Give the need to always be seen. Every voluntary surrender prepares you for the final surrender. Then perhaps, by Allah's mercy, when the final moment comes, La ilaha illallah will not feel like a sentence your tongue is trying desperately to remember. It will be the truth your entire life has been practicing. The dunya is leaving. La ilaha, people cannot follow. La ilaha, wealth cannot help. La ilaha, reputation has ended. La ilaha, what remains? Illallah, Allah. The one who was there before everything you loved entered your life. The one who remained while everything changed. The one who carried you through blessings you noticed and dangers you never saw. The one who opened the door every time you repented. The one your heart was searching for beneath every temporary attachment. This is the seventh and deepest transformation of La ilaha illallah. You stop treating it as merely something you say. You begin building a life that agrees with it. Your desires may still speak, but Allah comes first. Your fears may still appear, but Allah is greater. The dunya may remain beautiful, but Allah is more beloved. Loss may still hurt, but Allah remains. And when this truth settles deeply enough, the final declaration becomes the summary of an entire life. La ilaha illallah. Nothing deserved my worship except Allah. Nothing truly sustained me except Allah. Nothing remained when everything else changed except Allah. And nothing was ever worthy of the throne of my heart except Allah. At the beginning of this journey, La ilaha illallah may have sounded like 4 familiar words, but now you have seen what the Awliya understood. These words are not small. They enter the places where fear is hiding. They enter the places where pride is hiding. They enter the places where attachment, jealousy, desire, control, and the hunger for approval are hiding. And they ask one question: who truly sits on the throne of your heart? This is the real anatomy of La ilaha illallah. La ilaha removes, illallah returns. La ilaha breaks the false dependence. Illallah gives the heart a true place to rest. La ilaha tells the nafs, you are not my master. Illallah tells the soul, Allah is enough for me. The path of the Awliya was not merely to increase the movement of the tongue. It was to allow remembrance to slowly change the architecture of the heart. They wanted a dhikr that remained when the gathering ended. A dhikr that entered the marketplace when money tested integrity. A dhikr that entered the home when patience was tested. A dhikr that entered loneliness when no human being could provide comfort. A dhikr that entered success before praise became pride. A dhikr that entered hardship before fear became despair. This is the dhikr you need. Not only La ilaha illallah when everything feels peaceful, but La ilaha illallah when life touches the exact thing you are afraid to lose. When a door closes, say it until the heart remembers that the door was never al-Fattah. When provision becomes uncertain, say it until the heart remembers that money was never a razak. When someone leaves, say it until the heart remembers that no created person was ever meant to become the source of your entire existence. When the future frightens you, say it until your heart remembers that tomorrow has never existed outside the knowledge of Allah. When your own sins make you ashamed, say it while returning, because your failure is not greater than the one whose mercy invited you back. La ilaha illallah. Do not make these words only the sound of your spiritual moments. Make them the answer to your ordinary life. When your ego demands the final word, let La ilaha illallah enter your silence. When your nafs demands something Allah has forbidden, let La ilaha illallah enter your restraint. When another person succeeds and jealousy rises, let La Ilaha Illallah enter your heart until you can sincerely pray for them. When people praise you, let these words remind you that every ability, every opportunity, every breath, and every good deed became possible only through Allah. This is how dhikr becomes character. And this is how character becomes evidence that remembrance has reached deeper than the tongue. Perhaps the most dangerous mistake would be to finish this video, admire the meaning of La Ilaha Illallah, and then return immediately to the same attachments without allowing anything to change. Do not do that. Choose one hidden throne, only one. Perhaps it is fear of people. Perhaps it is money. Perhaps it is one relationship. Perhaps it is the need to be admired. Perhaps it is anger. Perhaps it is control. Perhaps it is your own spiritual pride. Take that one thing into your dhikr. When you say La ilaha, identify it. When you say Ilallah, return that part of your heart to Allah. Do this patiently. The Awliya understood that purification is rarely one dramatic event. The Nafs may lose one throne and attempt to build another. Pride may disappear from wealth and reappear inside worship. Attachment may leave one person and move toward another. This is why the servant continues returning again and again and again. Do not become discouraged because the battle continues. The continuation of the battle does not mean you are rejected. It means you are alive and still being tested. The goal is not to reach a state where no temptation, fear, or emotion ever enters you. The goal is that whenever something enters, it no longer finds an empty throne waiting for it. It finds a heart already occupied by remembrance. This is why La Ilaha Illallah is freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, freedom from slavery to what is temporary. You can work without worshipping work. You can own without being owned. You can love without making another person your God. You can plan without demanding control over Allah's decree. You can succeed without believing success made you valuable. You can fail without believing failure erased your worth. You can lose something precious and still whisper through tears, "My Lord remains." That sentence contains a kind of wealth the dunya cannot manufacture. Because there will come a day when the dunya begins releasing you, whether your nafs agrees or not. The house remains, the wealth remains, the plans remain unfinished, the praise becomes silent. The people you loved can accompany you only so far. And eventually, the heart reaches the truth it spent its entire life either remembering or avoiding. On that day, what will matter is not how many things once surrounded you. It will matter what was at the center. This is why the Awliya prepared for the final return long before the final breath. They practiced releasing pride before death removed reputation. They practiced generosity before death removed wealth. They practiced detachment before death removed possessions. They practiced remembrance before the tongue became unable to speak. They wanted the final words of Tawheed to be familiar to a heart that had already spent years learning surrender. And that is the invitation before you now. Do not wait until the end of life to begin living. La ilaha illallah. Live it while you still have choices. Live it while you still have someone to forgive. Live it while you still possess wealth that can be shared. Live it while your body can still bow in prayer. Live it while the nafs can still be disciplined. Live it while the dunya is still offering you things that test whether Allah truly comes first. Let La ilaha illallah become the secret beneath your decisions. When confused, return. When proud, return. When afraid, return. When broken, return. When blessed, return. When sinful, repent and return. Because the deepest lesson of this entire journey is not that the Awliya never became distracted. It is that they knew where to return when distraction entered. Allah, always Allah. After people, Allah. After praise, Allah. After loss, Allah. After success, Allah. After fear, Allah. After everything you thought you could not survive without, Allah. This is Ilallah. And perhaps one day, if Allah grants you a long life, you will look back and realize that the greatest change created by this dhikr was not that every problem disappeared. It was that the problems stopped becoming your gods. Fear stopped ruling you. Praise stopped feeding you. Loss stopped defining you. The dunya stopped owning you. And Allah became greater in your awareness than everything you once believed you needed. That is transformation. That is freedom. That is the heart beginning to understand Tawheed. So before you leave this video, say it once more, but this time do not rush. La ilaha illallah. Let la ilaha remove. Let Ilallah fill. Let the first half break the chain. Let the second half return the heart home. If this reminder has made you see this dhikr differently, subscribe to Whispers of the Awliya and continue this journey of dhikr, purification of the nafs, and healing of the heart with us. Share this message with someone whose heart has become too attached to something temporary. And write in the comments, La ilaha illallah. Not only as a comment, write it as a declaration. No fear deserves the throne. No person deserves the throne. No desire deserves the throne. No dunya deserves the throne. The heart belongs to Allah. May Allah make La ilaha illallah alive upon our tongues, rooted deeply within our hearts, visible within our character, stronger than our desires, stronger than our fears, and more beloved to us than everything temporary. May He free our hearts from hidden idols, purify our nafs from pride and attachment, strengthen our tawakkul when the future becomes uncertain, and return us to Him whenever the dunya causes us to forget. And when the final moment eventually comes, may the declaration we spent our lives trying to understand become the truth with which we return to our Lord. La ilaha illallah.